Good afternoon, everyone. I am Deepak Sarkar, a student of third year Mechanical Engineering Department in Government College of Engineering and Textile Technology, Baharampur. Today, I am going to discuss about a very important topic, that is friction. So, friction, friction is nothing but a type of force that opposes the motion of two surfaces that are in contact with each other. To understand this statement, please look at the picture on the screen. In the picture, we can see that a force or a motion is acting in a direction and the generated friction is in another direction. So, motion and friction is always in opposite direction. To understand this, please look at another picture. In the next picture, we can see that a boy is pushing on a table and made a motion, and to this a frictional force is generated between the contact surface of the table and the floor, and this also in opposite direction. Now, how does friction impact in our daily life? To understand this, please look at the video on the screen. On the video, we can see that a person is climbing on a hill by generating friction, and a matchbox is struck by generating friction. And when we saw that a bicycle is running on the road, there also be a friction. This is called rolling friction, and when we rubbing our hand, there also be a frictional force generated by our hands. Now, I am going to discuss about the cause of friction. We all know that every matter has a rough surface. If we look at the picture on the screen, then we find out the surface of the box and the surface of the ground. There are not 100% smooth surface, so the friction will generate it, because if the surface has the roughness, and friction will generate it. Now, coming to the discussion about type of friction. So, at the very first type is sliding friction. So, sliding friction is what? Sliding friction is a frictional force or a friction force that opposes the direction of motion of an object that occurs when solid surface slide over on another. So, the very close example to us is when we write down something on the paper by using the pen, there also a friction. That type of friction is called sliding friction. If we look the picture, then the concept will so much clear to us. Then we are going to discuss about fluid friction. So, what is fluid friction? When the force that tries to slow the object down when they move through a liquid or gas. That type of friction is called fluid friction. It's also known as drag or air resistance. Fluid friction increases as the speed of the object increases. An airplane and the swimmer both experience fluid friction. Please look at the picture on the screen to understand this statement clearly. On the picture, we can saw that there are a fluid friction between the airplane and the air. Rolling friction. Rolling friction is a friction that occurs between surfaces in motion that are rolling, in which one of the surface is a wheel, roller or ball. The very easy example to us is the riding a bike. When a biker rides a bike, bike, then the surface of tires and the ground has generated a friction. That type of friction is called rolling friction. The another type of friction is static friction. Static friction is a friction that occurs when the surface in contact are at rest. So there are no motion. So we can also say that static friction is totally opposite of rolling friction. The most important example or the most easiest example to us for static friction is when a book is resting on a desk, or when a body or a box is resting on the table without generating any motion. So look at the picture to clear this statement easily. To understand the static friction easily, we can see this picture. On the picture, we can see that a block is on the table and the weight of the block is moved on the A direction, and a force Fa is applied through X direction, and a normal force is acting upon the block, and the static friction is denoted by Fs with y direction. We all know that static friction Fs is always proportional to the normal force. We all know that normal force is equals to the weight of the block. So N is equals to mg, and if we put the value of Fs is proportional to the mg, and if we want to the equal sign, then we have to put a constant that is mu. So mu is for static friction and mg. Then we find out the value of static friction this way. Now I am going to discuss about the angle of friction and angle of repose. To understand this statement, at first we see a picture on the screen that there is a surface and a block is present on it, and a force P is applied on the block, and the frictional force is generated with its opposite direction. The normal is acting on its upward direction, and the resultant between the friction and the normal is acting on this direction, and the friction is also be there as per vector rules. So we can draw a vector diagram, that is, there is normal and there will be resultant, and there will be the friction, and this angle theta is called the angle of friction. If we put the value of tan theta, then we will find the perpendicular, that is f by normal, and we know that f is equals to the value of normal into mu. There mu is the friction coefficient. So if we put the value of f, then we will get theta equals to tan inverse mu. After that, we will go through the angle of repose, or the concept of angle of repose. For this, at first we will consider an inclined plane and a block that is on the inclined plane, and the normal wheel acting on its inclined direction or upward direction, and the mg is in downward direction, and the a coefficient will acting on this direction, that is mg sin x, if the angle is x, and the another will be mg cos theta, and a frictional force is present on this direction. So from this we will draw a FBD, and we will be able to find out the value of the angle of repose. For this, we can say that mg sin x is equals to f, that equals to mu into n. And another thing is n is equals to the mg cos x. So if we put the value of n in the first equation, then we will get that mg sin x is equals to mu into n, not n, mu into mg cos theta or cos x. Then we will get tan x equals to mu. If we find the value of x, then that will be tan inverse x, tan inverse mu. So we can see that the value of angle of friction and angle of repose is same, but the definition is not same, and the calculation will be not same. Now I am going to discuss about the surface area between solids. So we all know that the amount of surface area in contact usually does not affect the friction between two solids, because larger surface area have more contact, but the pressure between the two is less. So the increase in friction area is offset by the reduction in pressure. From this, we will answer a question, that is, appear the screen, that which has more friction and why. At first we can see that a 100 pounds block is present on a surface, and similarly a 40 pounds block is present on the surface. So which has more friction and why? The answer is that the 100-pound box, because the force pushing together in higher, so heels and valleys are in closer contact. After that, we are going to discuss about the ways to increase friction. There are different type of ways that is used to increase the friction. Firstly, rough the surface, more hills and valleys, and there are not are deeper, and more force pushing together, and there will be different type of uses of products to increase the level of friction. After that, we'll go through the ways to reduction or reduce the friction. To reduce the friction, there will be present on different type of lubricant like oil, wax, grease, etc. that usually uh, used in our daily life, and we can see that type of lubricant is present in the market. So after that, we are going to discuss about the relation between friction and heat. If we try to rubbing our hands together at a quick pace, we should feel heat. But why? Because there are presence of friction. So after that, the if we find out anything with our uh, surface area of our body, then we'll find some stress or something. There also will be present in some friction. Thanks to all of you to watch this video. Thank you.